Hey, my name's Rowena from typeandactive.com, and today what I want to talk about is probably the most two obvious subjects in my life, which is managing diabetes with dance. I can't believe I haven't even spoken about this before in a vlog. So yeah, I just want to give you a few of my tips that enable me to try and find a steady flow of diabetes management whilst dancing like almost every day. Well, first of all, I need to say that what works for me might not work for you. Essentially, it's just a massive game of trial and error. So hopefully these tips will be able to give you an indication as to how you could start to find that better line of management. So the first thing is that you should pay attention to different teaching styles and different dance genres. So don't assume that they're all the same. So if you are currently living with diabetes and you're thinking about starting a dance class, or you've only been to like a handful with one teacher and then you go to a new one, don't assume the way this new teacher works is going to be the same as the old teacher, or that the dance style is going to be the same. So for example, if you thought about, oh, I need to reduce my bolus by this much for this dance class, don't assume that that's going to work for another one, because for me, in my experience, so many different, every teacher who teaches me is always very different in the pace of the class. So sometimes I'll get it really wrong and I'll reduce the bolus thinking, oh, this is going to be really fast paced, and then the next minute it's like a slow improvisation class where you really trying to explore visualization techniques and things like that, and therefore my blood sugar goes really high. So again, it goes back to that trial and error section. So please pay attention to different dance styles and different teachers, and if you really do want to do your research ahead of time, you could maybe go and watch a class if you feel nervous about what to do with your insulin, but essentially just treat it as like a cardiovascular workout, and reduce, or some people need to increase for that type of exercise. So just try and recognize that and keep to the different dance styles. And the second tip is to just check your blood sugar. So during the class, you can confuse hypo symptoms with just general feelings of fatigue during class. So sometimes I feel a bit shaky because I've worked so hard, I'm sweating, and I'm breathless and things, but these are all symptoms of like hypoglycemia as well. So if you're unsure and you can't really differentiate between the two, then it's really important that you just stop what you're doing and go and check, because the sooner that you do that, the sooner you can start focusing back on your dancing and your technique and your performance and your alignment and everything else that is to think about in dance. Your teacher should not have a problem with you stopping midway through the class just to check your blood sugar. It's actually really important that you do. So on average, I would say I usually do like 90-minute dance classes at a time. So usually I'll check once straight before going in, like maybe 5 minutes. And if it's low, I'll eat a granola bar or a banana or another piece of fruit. And then I'll check midway through, unless I'm really certain that my blood sugar is okay, then I won't check, but more often than not I do check midway through, and then I'll check straight after class as well. So that's my general rule of thumb for testing my blood sugar during dance class, so I really advise you to do the same. Also, if you do go to a new class and you don't know anyone in the class who could say like, oh, she's diabetic, if something happened, then make sure you tell the teacher. I never do, because I'm usually surrounded by dancers who know me and know that I'm diabetic, so if anything happens I would trust that they would remember that I'm diabetic, and they'd be able to say it's okay. But when I don't know, I usually do tend to tell the teacher. And it's also a way to say, what, I'm not being rude, I'm not going to be playing on my phone, I'm going to be checking my blood sugar midway through the class, and that's just a general respect really for the teacher. So the next is to learn about your own training, your own style of training. So I do solo work quite a lot, so I tend to work on my own and develop my own style of training, and I know that when I adjust my when I get my insulin and blood sugar and food just perfect, that's when it's time that I actually have to increase the intensity of my training. So it's kind of a good thing in a way that diabetes pushes me to work a bit harder, and then again I start the process of the trial and error again. I always try to stay ahead of the diabetes game, shall we say, and that's what works for me with that. So if you are currently a dancer and you're leading up to a performance, you might have already noticed, if you've done this a few times, that when you first begin to learn a new dance or a new routine, you might struggle with it physically, but then as time goes on, the more you practice, your stamina adjusts, like it builds up, and the way you deal with it, like as a bodily response, adjusts. So when you had to reduce your insulin, maybe in the first few weeks of this rehearsal process, during the performance process you might not have to reduce the insulin as much because your body's adapted to the workload. And this was quite important for me to realise, because I was going through all of these different processes, and obviously I was getting fitter, and I was able to keep up with the physical demands of the work better, so therefore I didn't need to reduce my insulin as much. And I was wondering, oh my god, why am I going so high during performance? And obviously adrenaline contributes to that as well, so it's important that you don't over reduce because you're fearing the hypos. This is something else that I've experienced. It's not nice to think, oh shit, like if I go on stage, what if I go low? It's just something that you don't want to think about, so it's easier to say, all right, I'll be, I'll just let myself run a little bit higher than normal. So yeah, if that puts your mind at ease the first couple of times you do perform, or the final few rehearsals, but then know how much you have to adjust by. And the way to do that is to just keep recording your blood sugars before and after you perform and rehearse, and this should really help you fine-tune that, and hopefully you won't leave the stage with massive high blood sugar, because that's not fun for anyone. So yeah, so again, another thing that contributes to this whole process of trial and error is your food intake. So generally I tend to eat about every 3 hours, but if I know what I'm doing within those 3 hours, like if I'm going to a dance class, or if I'm going to be doing a performance or a rehearsal, then I usually, let's just say, for example, it's probably best if I give you an example. So if I'm going to eat breakfast and I know I've got a rehearsal in the next 2 to 3 hours, then I'll eat a little bit less carbs during my breakfast, and then if my blood sugar is in a normal range just before I go into the rehearsal, when I've still got a little bit of insulin on board, I'll just eat those extra carbs that I subtracted from my breakfast before that particular rehearsal performance or training session, and that tends to keep my blood sugar at a steady pace. And then after it's not so much, I don't really have to think about the food as much, but usually I have something to eat straight after whatever it is that I'm doing, and that helps. But the final and most important tip that I can give you as a dancer who manages diabetes is that you just don't let it stop you ever. It's not an excuse not to work as hard as anyone else. It's not an excuse to sit out a class, or it's just not. And I think I developed this mindset straight away because I was diagnosed while I was doing a degree in dance. So I had to adopt this mindset, and it's stuck with me ever since. And I actually thought about this the other day. I was taking part in a professional class, and I stopped to take my blood sugar. It was a convenient time because the teacher had said, okay, you can stop and go through the material for yourself. And so whilst everyone was going through this material, like trying to retain the information, I was sitting there like waiting for the numbers on my blood sugar meter to count down, and pricking my finger and like getting the number and dealing with whatever needed to be dealt with. But that only makes me work harder, like it makes me retain information quicker. I'm not saying that I'm quicker or faster than anyone else in the class, but as a dancer, for me, it makes me want to work harder. It makes me want to retain this information quicker, which helps me pick up movement, you know, faster than I ever have, to be honest, which is great, and it allows me to just be a better dancer, really, because I don't let it stand in the way. Whereas if I, you know, did have a low blood sugar and then started sitting out for 20 minutes, like that would pull me back a little bit, I think. So I think it's also important, if you know, know what treats your low blood sugar quicker than anything else. So for me, a Lucozade that's a fast acting glucose, so that treats my hypo quicker than anything, and I know that if I take a big massive swig of it, I'll be good to go in a few more minutes, and I'll push myself through that low to get through it. And it's the same if I'm in rehearsals, when I'm on my own, I'll just, you know, eat some carbs, drink some Lucozade, and I'll get on with it, because I can't let it interfere with dance, because that's kind of what makes me most happiest. So, and I'm sure it does for you as well. I'm sure if you're watching this video, then you've genuinely got an interest in diabetes and dance, or some form of exercise. So yeah, it does. All of these tips apply to, you know, any type of physical activity, really. So just yeah, you've always got to record your findings as well, because if you don't, you know, write things down, then you'll probably forget and you won't be able to make adjustments to it. So yeah, I hope this helps. Please email me or comment below. My email is rowena@typeandactive.com. My blog is www.typeandactive.com. And if you subscribe to this YouTube channel, there'll be more tips like this in future. So yeah, just message me if you've got any questions as well, because I'm always happy to help, especially if it's going to help you get dancing a little bit more. So I'll speak to you soon.